Hi, are we ready to go?
We're ready to go.
Okay.
Oh, Billy.
Good afternoon, folks. Here we are again, a week away, and things are going pretty good, actually. Um, I mentioned something about crab rustling time, and and as you can see, it's kind of rough out there right now. So crab rustling is just not something we're into, and besides that, I can't find very many volunteers that want to go out and wrestle crabs. The,
Do you have to wear a Speedo?
Huh?
Do I wear a Speedo?
That kind of keeps them in.
Yeah, you gotta wear a suit or something to keep warm because it's really rough out there. And the little crabs don't matter because they can run around your feet and so on. You can play with them and so on. But it's the big king crabs that have those big long legs, like me. Got big long legs, and
Like those Dungeness. Big
yeah, you have to watch out for those pictures though, because they'll get you in the wrong place, and you wish you never had done that before. So it's okay. So that given, we're not gonna. They're gonna offset crab wrestling time, I think, till sometime in June when it's a little warmer and there's not as much rough surf out there. So maybe we'll have more volunteers. But anyway, it's a fun thing to do. You ought to try it sometime. Oh no, don't do that. No,
Wait till June.
Yeah. So what we were going to talk about today was there's a request that we talk about the Constitution, the U.S. Constitution. And you all know what that is, I hope. And we're going to talk about do you really think the Constitution is going to last? Do you think it's going to live? And so we're open for the panel here to talk about that sort of thing and see what you think. We're all citizens, I presume, and so we know something about the Constitution, which is maybe where it is in the library, but you ought to get it down and read it sometime. It's pretty interesting. There are 27 amendments, and there are, according to Siri, who is a computer lady, there have been many thousands of attempts to make an amendment to the Constitution, but there are only 27 that have made it. And I think one of the real live ones was the last one was Lyndon Baines Johnson when he was working with the civil rights thing. Yesterday was
ML King Day.
Martin Luther King Day, and so that is something to recognize as being there for civil rights. So, okay, do you guys think it's gonna go into where's Kelly?
Over there.
Over there. Oh.
Scoot in.
Do you think the Constitution will survive? And if not, why not?
Well, first of all, I feel like we're kind of at the mercy of who is interpreting the Constitution right now.
Yeah.
And if you look at the 9 Supreme Court justices, 5 of them claim to be originalists, which mean that they want to interpret exactly word for word what is said in the Constitution. And I think back in 1886, when it was ratified, the world was a different place. The English and the way we communicated and the words we used were different. So I don't necessarily agree with the originalist stance of the Constitution. Thankfully, we have the amendment process, but I think it needs to be changed and altered to fit more of our society today, not back in 1880. First of all.
Do you think it needs it needs to be altered, or all culture needs to be altered to conform to the Constitution. We seem
That's a
to
really
be
good
running amok with some of this stuff, and it eventually gets to the Supreme Court, and they say, well, we got to, there's a reason there. But
question.
what needs to change, really? We could change the Constitution through amendments, but what about culture?
Well, I pray that the Constitution survives, first of all, because, without it, or I should say without it, but with it, we have, it's not like best practices. We have, it's law. We have rules, we have law, we have things that you can and can't do, or should and shouldn't do, probably more specifically. And, to think that it can be interpreted loosely is dangerous.
Yes.
Agreed.
I agree with
It's
that.
dangerous because it's almost like you can make it do whatever you want it to do versus the other way around, which is deciding what's right and wrong based off what it says, right? So if we twist it, it's like anything. You can twist it to make it do whatever you want it to do. But, and what scares me is the term alternative facts, right?
Yeah.
That term alternative facts.
Oh,
I don't even know what that means.
I don't either.
Thank God. But you know what I mean? Because it just sounds like bullshit, honestly, is what it sounds like to me.
Yeah.
So do we need to change? Does the Constitution need to change? It's a great question.
Yeah.
But I think more importantly, if what did you say the five they consider themselves to be?
Originalists.
Originalists. Okay. Good in some senses, bad in other.
Yeah.
Right. Doesn't apply to today, I don't think.
It doesn't, right?
Yeah.
Like, can
Yeah,
you
right.
overthrow the U.S. government? Probably not,
No.
right? Probably can't do that according to the Constitution.
Right.
Originally.
Big trouble.
Big trouble, or should be. So,
Yeah.
I don't
Lincoln
know.
found that out too. didn't
Yeah.
he? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
the
if,
Civil War was about that.
right, also bad. Also bad.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I pray that it lasts,
Yeah.
or I hope.
Okay.
So I think it will. I think it
Yeah.
will. I think the Constitution will. Hopefully, 27 amendments isn't a lot in a couple hundred years.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
It's not a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it needs to survive in some capacity. And by that I mean there are very few things we as a society agree on right now. And having these 27 truths that we all in some form of interpretation agree on is pretty essential, right? Thou shalt not kill. There you go. You know what I mean? Like everyone's going to get behind that. And I know a lot of that original documentation was inherited from religion.
Yeah.
But you fast forward to today and it's freedom of religion, freedom of speech, and people are actually doing that. When they wrote down freedom of religion back in the day, there probably wasn't a lot of variations on the religion that we were all following. So I guess what I'm presenting there is the issue with the Constitution still being applicable today, because there are so many times that we've had to redefine it that now it means nothing to anybody, right? Because you're constantly sending it to the court systems and having to define it this way, define it that way, define it this way. So I think it lasts because at the end of the day, we all come back to this agreement on these principles. But on the whole, we're going to have to continue to define this documentation, and it's not going to go anywhere. Technology is going to change, society is going to change, and in those weathers or seasons of that evolution, the rules are going to have to be presented and followed through.
What about AI?
I mean, I feel like I bring it up every time we're together. And it definitely came to mind when you were talking about it, because the Wall Street Journal is currently suing, no, the New York Times is suing ChatGPT because they are using the data that the New York Times is presenting and then spitting it out to their users.
Oh, is that
ChatGPT is.
Guess
ChatGPT
where-
is.
Get where this came from.
Oh, look
Yeah.
at this.
So
Essential
Look at that.
knowledge,
New
He's
York
got a
Times.
book that says the New
And
York
the
Times.
Constitution's in there.
yeah, so there you go. But so if you go and you try to read any of these articles, they're locked behind a paywall on the New York Times
Right,
website.
right.
Yeah.
So now the chat bot, which is programmed to go and take all the information and give you the best answer, is now tapping into their information and presenting it.
Uh-huh.
So why this is going to have to be further defined is that plagiarism.
Wow.
If you're paying
It's
to
only a
use
matter of time before this
ChatGPT,
happens.
right?
Yeah.
So like
Yes.
you go off of these principles that were created umpteen years ago. There's no way George Washington was thinking, well, what if the information age, this, and this is going to happen,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
There's no way.
Well, I have a question
Yeah,
for
you
Ivan.
go back to drinking or making his whiskey.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Ivan, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you feel like the Constitution is going to survive?
I think it will, but I think it's going to have some rough waters to row its boat over, if you will, because what's happening now with the culture, I think, is that there is a strong push, particularly in the young people. Maybe this is wrong, but this is what I'm grabbing is for socialism. And socialism doesn't work. It never has. They've tried it. It doesn't work. But anyway, regardless of that, it'll have to go through that period of upheaval, if you will, and within the country itself. Unfortunately, we'll have to do that. I hope not, but I think it's going to have to come to that, and then it'll settle back down again. Remember that George Washington, when he was, they wanted him to be king.
Right.
Yeah. No, he said no. We'll be president. So what they wanted to do was not have the Church of England influence the colonies, and so that's why probably why the documentation about religion was in the Constitution. But what's
Sorry,
that?
that's
Is that a
my
commercial break?
cell phone was going off. Sorry.
So, so that actually, Ivan, that was going to be my follow-up question for you. Was separation of church and state
Yeah.
founded on? Well, because when we founded the United States, came to the New World, it was to run from religious persecution.
Yeah. Right.
And or to be told what religion we were supposed to practice.
Yeah.
And yet now there's a big push to bring religion into the Constitution and define our rights as citizens with religion.
Yeah.
And I strongly disagree with that
too.
practice.
Yeah.
I'm curious what you think.
So I've been listening to Alan Dershowitz. He's made a series of tapes, and he's very clear about relating how the book of Genesis, mostly the book of Genesis as a start, is how we got our judicial system. But then it was time to not have the Bible, if you will, in the Constitution, because not everybody goes by the Bible. But however, you know, the many of the rules in the Constitution come from the Judeo-Christian influence, and I think that needs to stay the heck out of the Constitution. And when the attempts
Good
to
answer.
put it back in there are just that's really wrong, I think.
Good answer. I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Religion's dangerous in that
Yeah.
environment.
Well,
yeah.
What do you think about the separation between capitalism and government?
Very fun.
No, that's exactly my point.
Right?
Yeah.
I was like,
so,
what do you mean?
so I guess like what sparked in me was like the mention of socialism, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And I don't think I know in my heart that America would never go socialism on paper. There may be some socialist tendencies,
Yeah.
but what comes to mind is the individuals that are making these laws are influenced by the people that elect them to get the
Yes.
position.
Uh-huh.
And I think when we hit a point where there is a vocal majority in this country complaining about not being able to make ends meet, that's when the government is going to have to change away from capitalism to the extent that it is. Because right now, you look at how broken our healthcare system is, it's because the government's got their hands in there and no private entity can go in there and disrupt it.
Yeah.
You look at the way that we all purchase and buy goods, it's run by Amazon and Walmart, which are mega corporations. Go start a store down the street and try to compete selling toothpaste,
Oh, they can't
right?
do that.
So, I mean, we've hit a stage where we have to continually support and lift up the people as a majority. And I don't want to say socialism because it is a bad word in America, it feels like. But there's going to have to be some changes that happen from the top down to keep everybody at rest. Because right now, I feel like there's a lot of civil unrest in our country.
Yeah, that's what I was alluding to with the rowboat and the waves, and it's going to get rougher.
I think you're
ocean
right.
as we go.
I
Yeah.
think you're right.
And well, I was going to say something.
Well, there are
I
some
forgot what-
socialist programs that we all live under.
Yes.
That are beneficial
true.
to a lot of our
Social
society.
Yeah,
Security.
right.
So Wyatt
Medicare,
has this-
Yeah.
That's right. Wyatt has this negative mantra to it,
It's
this negative
because
connotation.
the people that aren't there yet can't quite make it.
As far as
A lot of
knowledge-wise, they don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah. Well,
When
dollars.
they say, I hate
Dollars,
socialism,
No,
they
yeah.
don't even know what they're talking about.
Right.
Well, what
no,
about,
they don't know what they're
That's
talking
what I
about.
believe too.
Yeah.
They don't, you know what you're talking about.
What about proper taxation? Right? We as lower middle class people pay by far the greater share of taxes in our country.
Yeah.
And
We
those-
can't hire lawyers.
right.
Yes.
Well, there you go. But those who make the most pay the least.
Yeah.
And I feel like we wouldn't need socialism or we wouldn't need to raise money for nonprofit organizations if the wealthy few paid their fair share. Like, how,
Yeah.
how do we fix that?
How do we get them to do it? That's the thing.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's like monkeys that have a pile of bananas and get all the bananas they can and try to run away with them, and they're falling out everywhere. So, and it doesn't really work. The capitalism. Well, there are some countries right now that have kind of Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Finland,
Very wealthy countries.
probably Germany now. Now Germany, after they've been through that crap, and we never want to see that again in the world, but it's happening.
It's happening here.
Yeah. So it's possible to arrange things, I think, through voting and so on, so that there is some kind of equitableness to, for instance, to livability with the income. There's not a livability with the income nowadays because a single person can't go out and work unless they got a really good salary to support a family who's say they have say it's a family with kids and stuff like that, and the mom is staying home, or the other way around, whatever they choose. But one nowadays, what do you got? You got this is getting into to how kids are raised these days, and what kinds of examples they have, and mom's gone, dad's gone, where are the kids? Oh, they're over at child care. Well, what are they learning there? Don't know. So you know,
whenever the child care
Yeah.
lady is person is teaching them.
I've drifted a little bit, but there are examples in the world, but those examples don't have borders with Mexico. And we're going to have millions of people coming across the border. We already do. So the next thing is, what are we going to do with them? And how do we help them? Once they're in this country, they're a citizen. According to the Constitution, they're
Well,
a
if
citizen.
they're born here,
Huh?
if they're born here,
No.
they're an automatic citizen.
If they land here, they're citizens.
Or could be.
Maybe I misread that.
Yeah, I think it's if they're
I
born.
think that's kind of what
But-
they're arguing.
but
is
either
to
way-
create a process. for
Yeah.
it.
My feeling is because we have a border with a third world country that they provide the work and or a lot of work in this country that we not we, but a majority of the population will not do, won't do.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like how much do you want to pay for an apple? Right now they're expensive, but imagine if we didn't have a migrant workforce.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
would be $30 an apple. Are you
Right.
going to go pick apples?
Right.
Yeah.
Hell no.
No.
Like,
No.
But I mean,
So,
back to
that's
your
a rough
back to the initial question that launched us out off here. Will the Constitution continue to remain? And I think
That's
these are
the
just a
original
few
question.
examples of like why it's breaking down,
Yeah.
like why we have the civil unrest and why it may need to be reconsidered or amended here in
Yeah.
the near future is because of issues like this. You know, when you say here's like these 27 lines of text that help dictate or drive the country, my mind goes is why isn't that a one world blueprint?
Right.
Hey, we as a globe
right.
have this unified thing. We're not going to kill each other. We're not going to go to war. Boom, boom, boom. And then from there we can build up and not go to war with countries. Now, in a perfect world, we would all agree.
Sounds amazing.
But on the other side of the world, there are fundamentally different beliefs that they have on the other side of the world compared to where we are today.
If we say that, there's going to be somebody that's going to make us think differently.
That's
Yeah,
a
they're
good
going
point.
to come over and want to come across, you know,
Right.
raise hell.
You get to your point you brought up way earlier was people who have influence and have financial backing to have the Constitution be interpreted in their favor.
Always.
Yeah.
It goes
As
back to
Ivan
the
said,
root.
they can bring the lawyers.
Right. Goes back to the root of the problem. And not only
Right.
the lawyers, I think the Constitution will last
Good.
if we have the cojones to get money out of politics.
Yeah.
And until we do that,
And fair taxes.
it's going to constantly be challenged.
that's going to be real tough.
It's gonna
That's
be
gonna
real tough.
real hard,
Yeah,
especially right now. Not that it's not undoable, but it's
right,
going to be real
but a
hard.
super PAC.
It's tough.
and all of
I,
those
I
different-
Yeah.
think of a comment I heard from Captain Kirk, if you will,
God bless him.
Wise man.
Goes long.
where they went back and were going to get
Live
some
long and
whales,
prosper.
you know, and so they wanted to get on the bus. And so they got on the bus and said, what means change? Don't you have money? No, we don't have money. How did that happen? You know?
Yes.
How did that happen?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So there's possibilities that will come along, I think. And
Don't you always find it interesting that Captain Kirk always got the girl?
The
He
hottest
did, yeah,
alien.
yeah.
Whether she was green or
Didn't
purple
matter.
or
She
had
was
horns,
smoking
he
hot
would
always.
kiss her.
yeah, there
And-
you
yeah.
go, yeah.
That's what I love about
Yeah.
James T. Kirk.
He's
He was
stud.
Yeah.
stud.
Stage makeup all over his uniform.
Just,
Yeah.
just an absolute stud.
He was.
joke.
Yeah. Well, I think the Constitution will make it. If it doesn't, it'll be because there's been a massive, not a voter rebellion, but a military rebellion.
Oh gosh.
It has to stay. It
Yeah.
has to stay. I think my biggest fear in society today is as soon as the people lose faith in the government, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's been my biggest fear.
I think a lot of people
Yeah.
have lost faith. in
They
the
have,
government.
a lot of them
Yeah.
have.
Boy.
They're on the
Yeah.
streets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think
Good point.
a lot of people have.
Yeah.
At
What
least
do you do with those people on the streets?
Well,
We don't do anything with
right.
them. What
And
do they do?
I go back
Yeah.
to if we had the resources,
Yeah,
if the government had the resources,
yeah.
then, or at least the resources for that, right? Then it could be help. They could be, definitely wouldn't rely upon the private sector to raise the money to do it.
I think that's right. That takes a whole bunch of people who work, nonprofits, funding nonprofits and stuff like that. They have to get it something else to do. Yeah.
Right.
But then so does everybody else.
That's
You
right.
know. Yeah.
There's a lot of problems.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. It's a wild world, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, good conversation today.
Yeah,
I
that
mean,
was
very
good,
titillating,
man. That's
yeah.
heavy.
I dig it.
That's
Yeah.
good stuff.
I'm psyched to be on the Ivan Files.
Yeah.
That's what it's like
That's
to be on
sick.
the island.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I leave feeling a little
so
bummed.
are we done for today?
I think so. Let's see if
Okay.
anything else you
Good
want to
one.
cover.
Yeah, live
See you
long and
next
prosper.
week. Yeah.
Or is it
Nice.
Nanu? I don't know which one.
Hit me up, Scotty. Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, gang. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, Ivan.
Until next week.
Yeah. An email could be sent to, what is it?
The Ivan1933@gmail.com.
That's the Ivan, IVAN 1933 @gmail.com.
Oh, you got a new email.
Would welcome.
He's got a lot more than a new
welcome
email.
your email.
Ivan's got a new MacBook Air. What's
Yeah.
that? He's going to be sending them emails. Hey, Siri, respond to this jackass.
And it sounded like you spelled his name right, so that'll help.
IVAN.
Yeah, right. Yeah.